SD card still working. Mic still working. No more technological issues. What's up, everybody? I hope you're doing well. I'm going to carry on with my chill vibes in my summer mode because I'm getting ready to go on vacation. So today's episode might feel a little bit more chit-chatty, a little bit less edited than my typical, and I hope you're enjoying your summer in whatever ways you can access as well. Today, I thought it would be nice to talk a little bit more about burnout. Have I talked about burnout before? Most definitely. But this is one of those things that, I think it just needs to keep being on the map. We need to keep talking about it because it's still a problem. In a lot of spaces where we talk about therapist burnout and how to minimize burnout or overcome it, it can be really easy to simplify it into an equation that's like someone's working way too many hours and they need to maybe take a break, or maybe this job just isn't a good fit. They need a new job and they need to completely pivot. And those are certainly available options. We need to keep them on the table. And in many cases, those are going to be the most helpful options to employ. See what I did there? But I think there's so much more nuance to the conversation about burnout. There's so many more variables that can contribute to that experience of burnout. So I thought I would just kind of share sort of anecdotally some of the things that I've noticed within myself and therapist colleagues that I've spoken to along the way that can contribute to burnout, and how to maybe counteract that or interact with our professional lives so that we can minimize burnout or correct it if it's already kind of starting to go that direction. So hopefully it's clear I'm not giving some exhaustive list of everything to take into consideration if we're looking at burnout, but when I'm talking to therapists and I'm seeing some flags of burnout, these are some of the areas that I start to ask questions around to see if any of these might be contributing. And then, of course, there could be any number of things going on. I mean, there could be things going on unrelated to your workplace that are stressing you out, reducing your energetic or emotional capacity. I mean, there could be any number of things. So just be mindful of that as we go through this, that this is just kind of a starting point and you can build from here. So one of the variables that I think can contribute towards burnout in a lot of cases is when we don't have a sense of autonomy in our workplace. There could be a lot of things that feel like they take away from our sense of autonomy. Whether we're working for an employer and they are just in charge of our schedule fully and they decide who goes on our schedule, they don't even check in with us. They decide the layout of our schedule. You know, how many clients do you see in an 8-hour day? How many do you see back to back? How much time do you get to do documentation and billing and whatever else? Or it could be, you might be in totally solo private practice, or have kind of what looks like autonomy, but then this sensation of feeling like you don't have autonomy, whether it's like you feel like you are needing to work on behalf of your clients or on behalf of a paycheck, or something else that makes you feel like I don't have the ability to make decisions for myself. It could play out any number of ways, but if you're noticing some flags of burnout, or, maybe a loving friend or coworker is flagging it for you, just kind of check in. Where do I have autonomy in my current workplace, even if you're in a solo private practice? And where do I feel like I don't really have control over aspects of my work? And then you don't necessarily have to go and change everything and make everything fully under your control. I mean, that's not how things operate, but you can just kindly and gently ask the question of are there ways where I don't feel like I have autonomy that maybe I actually do have some autonomy? Or is it possible that some of the ways that I don't have autonomy in my current workplace or in my current setup might need to be adapted, or maybe it is worth considering changing your work environment or your workplace in some way so that you have more autonomy? But even if you're working for an employer, you can still advocate for more autonomy. If they're scheduling 5 clients in your schedule back to back and you operate best seeing 3 in a row and having a break, go and advocate for that and see how they respond. And if they are not nice to you, then, that isn't fun, but that gives you a data point to kind of build off of and decide what you want to do with that next. Or they might say, okay, sure, let's work with that and see what we can do. Another variable that can contribute to burnout that's less about how many hours am I working and that sort of thing is more about the quality of emotional load of the hours that you're working. Any number of things can factor into emotional load. I mean, it could be that you have things going on in your personal life right now that are emotionally costing you something. And so you might need to make adjustments in your workload to sort of balance it out. Or it might be that the type of clients that you work with, or the type of work that you're doing with your clients, or even the balance of client work compared to other work needs adjusting. This could take many shapes and forms, and it doesn't necessarily mean reducing how many therapy clients you see. It might have to do with like how much energy does it take to work with maybe one certain type of client or presenting issue or modality versus another, and you could see if it makes sense to make adjustments accordingly. One variable that I feel like I bring up in just about every video, because it applies to a lot of things, is how much support you have. If you feel like whoever you share life with in your personal life is like supporting you and saying like, hey, whatever's best for you, I support you. If you need to change something about your workplace or whatever it might be, I support you. You're doing a great job. And if whoever you work with, if you are employed by somebody else or wherever it is that you work, if they feel like they're supporting you and your well-being ultimately over, your output or anything else that you might contribute, that's going to be helpful. And then just support and like, are there people around? Are there therapists around you? Are there loved ones, friends, acquaintances? Like, do you have support, or is there a sense of like you're embedded in a community that's holding you up in some form? I don't think anyone has all of those supports always lined up in a row perfectly, but we kind of need some quorum, I guess, of support, I think, in order to feel like, okay, if I were to hit a snag, if I needed to make adjustments, if I needed to talk about pivoting to a different workplace or scaling back my work hours, if I was ever in a situation like that, I have enough supports around me where people would rally and advocate for me to lean into doing what it takes to support my well-being and help me problem solve if I need to figure out how to do it. Like, healthy supports are going to flag like, hey, is everything okay? It seems like you've been really stressed out with work recently, or, something seems to be bugging you. Or maybe if it's a consult group, they might say like, oh, it seems like this client or this caseload that you have right now is like really burdening you. Are you okay? And they can sort of like hold that mirror up to us. I think a lot of times we kind of know when we're headed towards burnout, but then it's easy to sort of be like brush it aside and be like, oh, it's probably fine. It's probably fine. Just keep going. Don't worry. And it's really helpful to have somebody kind of hold up that mirror and say, wait. Like, I'm kind of concerned. Can we look at what's happening? Because it seems like something's bugging you, or you're not doing well, or you're carrying a heavy burden, or whatever's going on. Somebody to kind of reflect that back to us for us to feel like we have almost permission to acknowledge like, ooh, yeah, maybe I'm not doing super great. Maybe I am burning out. And then we can genuinely look at it and problem solve, see what's needed in those moments. And the next item that I think can contribute to burnout is what narrative we have over our experience. Let's say you work at a workplace where you are expected to see 30 clients a week, but maybe for you, your sweet spot is like 20 clients a week. And if you have a narrative that is less accepting of your individual experience, then you can create this internal environment where you're really hard on yourself, right? It might sound like, hey, something's wrong here. You should be able to see 30 clients a week. Look, everybody else at work seems to not have a problem seeing 30 clients a week. So you need to deal with your stuff so that you can be okay seeing 30 clients a week. And there's this narrative there of like unacceptance or kind of pushing back on whatever information your body is giving you about your experience, versus saying like, wow, I'm really having trouble seeing 30 clients a week. My system seems to really thrive at 20 clients a week, or capping it at wherever. It could be 10 clients a week, doesn't matter what the number is. If you can accept more what your system is telling you, it doesn't mean that at all costs you have to set a boundary and be completely unwavering, but you can release the internal fight that can happen where we tell ourselves that we should feel differently than we are. We should experience things differently than we are. Instead, if we're more accepting and say, yeah, if my sweet spot's 20 clients a week and you have me see 30 clients a week, week in and week out, I'm going to feel it. It's going to affect me. I'm going to be more tired. So if I'm going to keep going at this rate, I should expect that I am going to feel more tired. And that's what I mean when I talk about a narrative of acceptance. Like in this example, acceptance doesn't mean condoning working yourself more than your body is saying is ideal, but it's accepting what your body is telling you that it's experiencing. You don't have to fight whatever's happening. When we're more accepting of whatever our system is telling us, our body, our thoughts, our feelings, then it makes it much more possible to, one, validate our humanity. Just because someone else seems to be experiencing something one way doesn't mean that you have to experience it the same way, because that's not how humans work. And it also is validating reality. And when we are looking at things clearly and accurately, it makes it a lot more possible to problem solve. And kind of along similar lines to some of the other topics that I brought up today is the importance of validating our individuality. That feels like such a therapist-y phrase to say, but I do stand by it. Because if we see our work as kind of more robotic, or we're sort of sacrificing ourselves either to our employer or maybe to our clients or maybe to our paycheck or wherever, and we sort of forego a sense of self when we do these things, it's like, oh, I just got to clock in, get it done, clock out. And if I'm feeling miserable, oh, well, deal with it. And we sort of shut it down. That costs us a lot. So if there are ways we can lean into our individuality, whether it's, how we show up in our workplace with our clients, making sure that we're showing up authentically while prioritizing our client care and not making it about us, but to say like, hey, this is what Marie as a therapist looks like. And I'm not, just foregoing all of my individuality or all of my humanity and just being a cookie cutter therapist, but allowing whoever I am to show up in therapist mode. That can be really helpful. And I think minimizing or curbing the potential for burnout. But I also think it plays out outside of the workplace, or even outside of our client care. If we're interacting with other therapists, whether it's networking or coworkers, consult group, like show up as you in that capacity. Doesn't mean you need to show up in your pajamas or, forego kind of professionalism, but still be in the role that you're in, but show up as you. Well, I just wanted to touch on some of these a bit because, as I mentioned, a lot of times the advice that I hear around burnout is just kind of checking in on how fatigued you are and seeing if you need a break, considering if you need to change workplaces or kind of more significantly change aspects about your work. And a lot of times those things are still relevant, but even then, sometimes those things are not enough. Like if you take a break and you come back and everything is exactly the same, that might not work out long term. And even if you are, you change jobs or you make some significant changes about your workplace, but you're still holding, a narrative about your experience in your workplace that's not accepting of whatever your body is telling you, like, oh, I should be able to, work this many hours or whatever it is, then you might just still replicate the same problem in a new location. So I think it's important to evaluate all of these variables and just kind of let there be a little bit more nuance to the conversation, especially in the work that we do, which costs us so much emotionally. I think it makes sense to ask more questions about our internal experiences of burnout. I'm pretty sure I'm super bright right now. So, non-summer Marie would have been like, I need to go fix that. But that's going to take me some time, so I'm just going to keep going. Well, I hope you found this episode supportive. If you clicked on it because you're wondering if you might be experiencing burnout, I will link to some of my favorite tools to assess for burnout. I especially love the ProQual because it is really tailored to those of us in the helping profession. So go ahead and check that out. And I hope that you found this episode supportive, and I hope you can find some supports outside of here as well. And before we close, I'd like to thank therapynotes.com for sponsoring today's video. Therapy Notes helps with all of your practice management needs, from scheduling to notes to billing. They have a telehealth platform built in, and now a suite of AI features that can help you streamline your note-taking process. If you'd like to check out Therapy Notes, you can get 2 months to try it for free with no commitment just by clicking the link in the description of this video. Well, thanks for joining me. I'm wishing you well in all your endeavors, whether you're watching or listening to this during summertime or not. Wishing you well. I hope you're taking breaks. I guess that's why that's on my mind. I'm like, let me slow down with my videos over the summer and let's talk about burnout. So, jokes aside, I hope you are taking care of yourself. And whatever is going on, you're doing a great job. Until next time, from one therapist to another, I wish you well.